Good afternoon to everybody who is joining us live. We are working on getting Robert Locke in here. Apologize for the late start. I am Stacey Salyer, property management strategist, for those of you who do not know me yet. Today, I'm excited to have two amazing guests, Tony and Robert Locke. We're just waiting for Robert to join us. Meanwhile, Tony, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you've been around the block in property management for several years. So I would love for our audience to get a little bit of information about you. And then I will talk a little bit about housekeeping after that, and we'll go from there.
My name's Tony. I've been in the family of property management.
Yes.
I've been part of the property management community for about 20 years. I have been working in the family business of Crown Realty and Management. That got sold off about 6 years ago. I'm mostly the guy who provides software solutions and manages portfolios for our clients. A small copy of Robert Locke. He is the primary man of the moment, and I look forward to you getting to know him better.
Well, it's great to see you. I think you mentioned you were in Orlando recently. Did you attend?
Yes, That was a lot of fun. We were a vendor, and we had a lot of fun. It was gorgeous. And the weather was perfect, and the speakers were amazing. Everything, all of the breakouts, everything was not only well attended, but just excellent. We learned a lot.
That is great. Yes, I had a great time until I got on the Hagrid ride at Harry Potter World with my friend Miranda Honeycutt. And we had just gone to a beautiful dinner with Anna Quim and Enterprise Bank. I would advise people do not get on that with a full stomach. I've never gotten motion sickness before, but it is not fun. Other than that, I had a great time at Harry Potter World.
Nice.
Shout out Second Nature for doing that cool event. Hopefully Robert will be able to join us. I know we wanted to dive deep into how you get money from people who haven't paid you. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about that from people who have moved out. I think you guys can also collect on current residents and maybe even clients. Is that true?
We're a general collections agency, and so we can collect on anybody that owes you money. It is different when you're dealing with an owner because they know some attorneys, and so there's a good chance they're going to hire one. But if you're in the right and the debt is owed, we can definitely go after debts owed to the company, whether it's a tenant, an owner, or a vendor. We have the necessary tools to help you.
Okay, our chat is open. A little bit of housekeeping. These are recorded, but I do recommend to stay during the live because it's a great opportunity to ask questions in real time. Use the chat. Feel free to tell us where you're coming from. Let us know when you have questions. Collecting money that is owed is a hot topic. We are fiduciaries to our clients. I did create a poll. If you guys want to answer, what is your average debt collection amount? If you have a tenant that leaves owing, what are you seeing when you do that move out? Is it 1,000, 1,001 to 3,000, or 3,000 plus? Let's dive in. Tell me, I would love to know, and maybe you kind of hit on it here a little bit, but how is rent recovery different from other like debt collectors?
Primarily, it's the people. We don't do general collections. So there's a lot of collection agencies out there that you could hire, and you're going to turn over to them the debt, and then they are going to go silent, and maybe in 6 months or a year, you'll start getting a little bit of money. General collection agencies don't know the ins and outs of property management. They're not going to understand all the issues about the move out, the laws of each state, which vary. When you engage with somebody that is specific to a industry, then you're dealing with someone who can go after things within the law. There's a wide open window for doing collections within the property management industry. We have two primary hitters in our team. And of course, Robert Locke, he's sort of the founder and visionary. Monica Gilroy is general counsel for NARPM National and has made a huge impact, speaks at many NARPM events, is part owner of the company and does all of the legal work. When you're engaging with a collection agency that does property management and has the team we have put together, you're dealing with the top leaders in the industry.
Oh, yeah. So I know we were talking a little bit before we went live, and I like to call Robert the godfather of property management.
Funny.
Like with some marketing, the godfather of property management.
Believe it or not, he does have an outfit that he's worn at some of the NARPM events, but it is not as a godfather. He has an outfit as a mountain man property manager, and he has these fake teeth. He has a skunk that he uses for intimidating tenants to make payments. It is hilarious. People probably don't remember it, but 20 years ago, he used to show up in that outfit.
I guess that was probably before my time. I see him as the godfather, like sitting there surrounded by his team. And Monica is a powerhouse. I love that lady.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing at what she does. So what I'm hearing is you guys only handle property management collections. Very different than what is out there. Because I know even when I used somebody in Washington State and they did all the collections. So they were not specialized.
A lot of people just get a lawyer and think they can go after it. You really need a certain set of tools. You need the ability to report to the credit bureaus. You need to know at the right time to deal with the security deposit and all of the issues related to the move out and how that affects the collections and what the laws are. It's best to engage with somebody who knows the property management industry.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I agree. So tell me, I know when we were talking about our title, Robert really wanted to talk about Congress and how they just handed down a new law or something like that. Is that something you can speak to and tell us more about?
The FACT Act, FACT, was a law passed in 2003. A couple of years ago, it was given new federal guidance that gave property managers certain restrictions, collections. Some see it as a restriction, but it gave property managers new teeth and permissions to do collections in a way that meets certain guidance and industry standards. It's not a limitation. It's not a loophole. It's your legal superpowers if you wield it correctly.
Oh, that's really cool. So what is it that property managers don't know about it? Because when I've talked to you and Robert offline, that's what prompted me to schedule this. I had my mind blown. I'm like, oh, I had no idea that was a thing. I wish I would have known. So feel free to give us all the tea. We love to share tea on this show.
So we're talking about an opportunity for revenue generation for a property manager. Property managers, you grow your property management company to a certain point where you're able to start adding other companies around it, like a maintenance department or a real estate sales department. Eventually, you start leaving enough money on the table in tenants leaving owing money. You start looking at that pile of money and you start asking yourself, why are we not going after this? Eventually, you're going to want to engage in trying to collect some of that money. Generally, in the history of property management, property managers have not been very successful. And those who have serviced our industry have not been very successful in collecting that money. But with this new law, it gives clarity and guidance on how to do it in the right way so that you don't get in trouble. This is a new revenue you add to your property management company when your company gets to a certain size.
What size do you recommend? Is that revenue or door count?
You know, it really comes down to how much money is sitting on the table. We have some clients who are using us as a collection agency who only have 2 or 3 accounts that have a debt, but the debts are large.
Okay.
During COVID, they stopped making payments for a couple of years. And so we're talking $20,000, $30,000, right? They owe enough that it makes financial sense as a business owner to start going after that debt in collections. If you've got a couple hundred houses, that's our sweet spot. We have clients with a couple thousand homes, and they have people leaving owing post-move out debt. But it really is a business decision for you. You run the reports, past tenants who have left owing money, and you look at the number and you decide, worth going after. Is it worth my time?
I would love to know for people that are watching live, if you want to pop in the chat, what your balance is right now for move out charges, right? So how much debt your company is carrying. You know, is it 10,000, 20, 100K? If you'd like to pop it in the chat, I would love to know, how are property management companies using that as a revenue source? Are they tacking on an admin fee?
You can go after unpaid rent. You can go after late payments. You can go after the costs in evictions or damages. All of that can be sent to the credit bureaus if the tenant was part of the lease agreement. Sometimes you've got 2 or 3 people or a co-signer. The real power is when you start hitting somebody's credit. And then it's a pain point. Lifestyle is determined by your credit worthiness. a lot of things in life require, and
Right.
if your credit gets hurt by a collection, people pay attention to that.
Okay. But for the property management company, is there, because it sounds like you're saying revenue added to the property management company. So
As
would they be
most,
taking a portion of the funds that are collected and then some would go
Right.
to the owner, or how does that work?
what happens when money is collected?
Yep.
Right. It really comes down to the disposition of the property manager. Some property managers do it simply for the altruistic desire to be a good service to their
Yep.
owners.
Yep.
Some people go after those post move out collections simply so they can provide better service. When someone leaves owing money, there's a sense of injustice, especially from the viewpoint of the owner. The owner is wishing that somebody could bring a certain level of fairness to the moment. As a property manager, if you're able to tell the owner that this tenant is being reported to the credit bureaus and that they won't get away with this, it brings a sense of resolution that somebody is doing something about it. As a property manager, when you get money in a collection process, you get to decide within your business model how you're going to handle that. It should be addressed in your management agreement with the owner, ideally. That's where Monica comes in. There's a lot of lease and property management agreement enhancements that somebody like Monica Gilroy, Robert Locke, can add to your documents so that when you are bringing in post move out debt, you have already managed in advance how you're going to distribute that money.
What I'm hearing is if somebody wants to engage with rent recovery and say, hey, I need you guys to help me do money collection. It sounds like part of your onboarding services is you'll take a look at the lease and the management agreement, make sure that all the ducks are in a row ahead of time so that when it happens, because it's not if, it's when. If you tell me you manage property and you've never had somebody leave owing money.
Oh my goodness. They're only renting to people over 800 credit scores, right?
Sure, there you go. That is possible.
You have to decide as a business why you're doing collections.
Okay. Why?
Okay. You have to make a business decision. Why am I going to put time and energy into going after post move out collections?
Okay.
And we suggest it's the right thing to do to be a healthy company.
Yep.
Bottom line, you got to plug the leaks of things that hurt your reputation as a company, as a property management company. You need to be a full service, have an answer to your owners for when someone leaves owing money. What are you going to do?
Are you finding out there that there's property management companies that don't offer that?
That's why we're here. Historically, no one's done this.
Oh,
Nobody has serviced the property management industry before, let's say, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago.
do you find that there are property management business owners who are like, oh no, I don't bother collecting money? Like that's a lost cause.
Yeah, sure. The FACT Act, which has been reinterpreted, really puts the property manager in a position where they can do this now.
Okay.
When there's ambiguity in the law, the ambiguity is solved through a lawsuit. But when legislators provide that clarity, you can do the activity of collections without as much risk because they're not looking for clarity through lawsuits.
We got a really good question. What is your process to collect and how much does it cost the property manager? And for those of us in California, we have to have tenants elect to report to the credit bureau. Does this federal law supersede state law and allow us to report no matter what?
So this is a great question because this goes straight to the topic that we posted this blog about, which is the FACT Act. Property managers become listed in this law as furnishers of information, which means they can report negative rental data, whether the tenant agrees to it or not.
Okay.
And that's a federal law.
This would supersede our left coast laws.
It does supersede. It doesn't mean that you want to live outside of your California-nesses because it's still, you're still going to get challenged legally on it. You're still going to get a lot of pushback. Do I want to be one of the companies that pushes up against a difference between state and federal law?
Okay.
Right. There are certain people in NARPM that are famous for doing this, and they serve us all. We bless them for going through the hassle of the legal process to get clarity. But you put it in your lease. Lease enhancements. People like Robert Locke and Monica Gilroy have what I like to call institutional wisdom. They deal with so many clients across so many states that they know all the best ideas and marketplace advantages. How do you manage certain issues in a way that can scale and not slow your company down? How do you market? All of this institutional wisdom from all these best ideas from all these clients, when you engage with them, you're not just getting the content you hired them for. You're getting their wisdom on so many other issues related to your business. One of these we've been talking about, lease enhancements or property management agreements. For those of you in California, there are certain things you want to put in your lease that is going to protect you and keep you from having to answer the question, but the tenant hasn't agreed to have their debt reported to the credit agency. I am not specifically talking about current tenants. I'm talking about post-move-out tenants. When they have moved out, there's a lot less ambiguity. Once they've moved out of the house and they owe the debt, you as a property manager have the right to either directly or through a collection agency begin reporting on that debt.
Robert's chiming in the chat because he wasn't able to connect face to face, but he is putting some awesome stuff in the chat. Just saying, federal law trumps state law, so collections is safe regardless of state law. And recent directive from President Trump clarified this and affirmed that state laws cannot override federal law. California law on collections is of no effect. Tenants don't have to agree to reporting ever. I don't know Erin's question, but maybe she was trying to clarify between current tenants and past tenants. So I'm assuming past tenants, it's a very different ballgame, right?
Positive reporting on current tenants, I would get their permission.
Makes sense.
In
California. Erin did have a question. How much does this cost the property management company? Does it cost the PMC anything?
Collection agencies have different models. Our model is that we don't get paid unless you get paid. We only get paid when you get paid. We do percentages based on your size and other negotiating issues. We would work that out with you.
Okay, cool.
We do a lot of work before we get paid a penny. So yeah, we're here to service you and the industry.
Are you mostly going after former tenants, or are you also collecting on current tenants and clients?
Right. We go after post move out collections, and that can be owners too. If there's debts left over when the lease is done, or if you did a big rehab and forgot to get prepayment or consent from the owner, and the owner isn't going to pay you, and you have certain facts and data to prove that they did agree to it, and you want that litigated, we can go after it in collections as a step one, try to help them do the right thing.
I like that you said trying to help them do the right thing, because it really is about doing the right thing.
Wants to do the right thing if they had the ability to. No one wants to walk away from a debt.
Right.
People don't. I'm telling you, in our human nature to look at somebody who leaves owing a debt and to judge them and think they left this debt because they're a scoundrel. The truth is they just don't have the money. If they had the extra money, they would love to have that moral satisfaction of paying it off. You have to work with somebody and not put them in a bad position where you're trying to get it all at once and they can't. We want to help people make small payments so that they can pay it off over time. Payments they'll never have to miss, payments they can make.
Okay, cool. We got another question. How far back can you try to collect from a tenant? So if a tenant owes money from 3 years ago, for example, or if we got a judgment from court, we need that collected from a few years ago.
Yeah, so the FCRA requires no older than 7 years, but if it's 6.5 years old, you really want to start collections on it? No. Our wisdom is 5 years. We always start with what's most current. When a property manager onboards, we start with the current stuff, 2025, 2024, and then we ask for an export out of their software for 2022 and 23. We look through it, help them make decisions on what's worthy of reporting, probably isn't worth it under $500.
Okay. Yeah. And then Robert chimed in too. He said the law says you can go back for 10 years, but practical is like 3 years, right? So 3 to 5, that makes sense. So what kind of documentation will a property management company need to produce? Does it vary by state?
There are certain requirements that the bureaus require if we're going to report them, we need the move in, move out date, tenant's legal name, birth date, social security number, and address, the rental. Those are critical pieces of information for reporting. When you're standing in front of a judge, it's all of that plus a little more. You need to have a tenant ledger that shows where all the money went. Where did that security deposit get used up? Why didn't you send it back in full? Did you handle it correctly? Your state has a law about how much time they have to dispute the security deposit and damages and other things that you put on that tenant ledger, which ends up being reported to the bureaus. And so, again, Monica Gilroy, could you find somebody in our industry more qualified than her to do this for you as a property manager? Why would you not just hire Monica?
Right.
I say that 20 times a day at the NARPM table as a vendor. You're going to hire somebody someday. Why not hire Monica?
Right.
So
if anybody hasn't met Monica, you need to meet her. She is a powerhouse, a true expert.
top in our general counsel for NARPM National. That's about as high as it gets.
Yeah, no, she's amazing. That is also good to know. And then Robert said, practical matters like going back 3 years is about as far as it's worth changing, which makes sense. I just said Monica, creditor rights litigator on our team. She has 30 years litigation experience.
She's a credit rights lawyer. That's what she specialized in.
Wow.
Credit rights. She knows it.
That's wild. Do you know, like, what's the largest amount you've ever had to go after?
So the one particular property manager who has only 2 tenants left owing, one of them owes $50,000.
Okay. All right. 50K. I'm from Washington State, so that is not unheard of in my area.
Oh my word.
We had that during our course.
There were COVID restrictions on evicting people.
Yep.
And you couldn't go after them. They just piled up debt thinking they didn't owe it someday.
Yep.
That was a gross miscalculation.
Yeah. I know. Isn't that wild? That's
unbelievable.
Yeah, I have personally seen that, and it was really unfortunate because it does follow you. We have some crazy COVID stories because our hands were very tied on the left coast. Anyway, 50K. Is that something you guys have been able to apply some pressure on and hopefully get some payments?
Somebody who owes 50K was not renting a 2-bedroom house. Right. This was a $5,000-$6,000 a month house, which means they have money, a good job, and good credit. And now their credit sucks. So at some point, they're going to walk in, try to buy something, and the finance department's going to look at them and say, if you were at least paying on this debt, this collections debt, it would look better and we could get you qualified. But we can't qualify you because of this. And that's the moment where they call us. We call them, we email them, we send them letters. They eventually wake up. They eventually become interested in getting it resolved. And that's the moment where we don't come across as the bad guy. We say, look, we'd like to see it resolved too. Let's set it up so that you can manage this payment in a way that it doesn't hurt you. You'll never feel like you have to miss it. We're going to get this resolved for you. Help you do the right thing.
We have some interesting laws, even in Washington State, times where people will leave owing well over $50,000. They can't be evicted. 2 cities have the bans. You can't evict anybody that has a minor in the home during the school year. I know some property management business owners going onto a second year without a tenant paying. By the time they'll be able to get them out, we're talking 6 figures, which is wild. And that is a bummer for that person because they're not thinking ahead of like, gosh, maybe one day I'm going to try and buy a car, or maybe I want to rent furniture. There's a lot of things that your credit will ran, and then you're just not going to qualify.
Credit determines lifestyle in a credit-oriented culture. So once you get it on their credit report, which is why you have to hire a collections agency, not just an attorney. You have to hire someone who can do that reporting for you. And that's where the real power is.
So before we wrap up, do you have any other words of wisdom? Anything else that we could? It looks like we got another question. Texas allows for post-judgment interest up to 18% if agreed in writing. Do you include the accrued interest when notifying and working on debt collection?
Different states have different laws. We have a payment agreement that we've got an audience today, and I'll share one of our intellectual property secrets.
Please do.
Here's an industry secret. When somebody interacts with us, we let them know that we are here to help. We're not asking for all the money up front. We want to turn this bad debt into a positive reporting event on their credit report. Have them make a first payment. When we receive that first payment, let's say it's $50. If they owe 50 grand, let's say we get $50.
Right.
The goal is $50 for them to sign a promissory note, a payment agreement. Because as soon as they do that, they've agreed to the debt.
Right.
Now it's not a matter of litigation. It's not a matter of the tenant ledger. It's not a matter of the move out, move in pictures and what was promised. They've agreed to the debt. And guess what we can put in that payment agreement? Regardless of your state's laws about the percent of interest and all that. Our goal when we deal with tenants who owe money is not to push the full extent of the law in your state. Our goal is a reasonable amount of interest and to get that first payment and have them agree not only to the debt, but to the interest and to the late payments and to everything else that is in that promissory note. And as soon as they sign that, we get that first small payment, we're off to the races. It's just a matter of how much they can pay every month, and every 6 months we increase it a little bit until they get to a pain point and they say, I think I'm going to miss a payment. Then we just back it off a little bit. And that way you've got constant residual income coming in from all of this money you're probably currently leaving on the table.
Very cool. I love that. If anybody else has any other questions, feel free to pop them in the chat before we wrap up. I put your slide up on how to get in touch with all of you. Rentrecovery.com. Is there any other ways to get in touch with you besides email that you'd like to share?
You can go to rentrecovery.com/guest. There's a bunch of videos that answer a lot of questions, FAQ, a bunch of information there.
Okay.
We want you to run the report in your software. How much post-move out debt do you have? That should answer the question on whether or not you're big enough or you've been around long enough to start going after that post-move out collection opportunity. This is a revenue in stream for your company. Our model encourages you to have in your property management agreement certain paragraphs that let the owner know you're doing it for the property management company. That's a decision every property manager gets to make. You can keep doing it for the owner where you share it with them minus your expenses and other fees. But we recommend and help most of our property managers do this in such a way that when the money comes in, they keep most of it.
Right.
Because it's a revenue stream. The FACT Act, because it got reinterpreted and new guidelines, enables you to do this. It's not a loophole. It's not something that you can just take advantage of and feel guilty about. This is your legal superpower to finally go after post-move out debt in a just way.
Okay. That's really great to know. I know when I had my PMC, I did not have it really set up as a revenue stream for me. I did have a collection company because I thought it was my duty to go after bad debt. I didn't realize that people didn't think that way. But yeah, I think for sure engaging with you all would be number one priority. I mean, all of you, hundreds of years experience essentially. And plus we have Robert, who's the godfather of property management. So why wouldn't you want him on your side, and Monica as well? Jim asked if I don't mind following up with an email providing the links to the pages you reference, as well as a bullet point description of your services. I can share all the attendees' emails with you. We do send out this recording as well. So if you send it to me, I can have my assistant include it in our post recording email. This was very interesting and a topic that a lot of people don't like to talk about, but is very much needed in our industry.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, of course. Please do.
In the very beginning, you asked about us. Yesterday was Veterans Day.
Mm-hmm.
I spent the day with my son going to different restaurants and getting free food because I'm a veteran.
Thank you for your service.
He's 17. He ate so much food, he was stuffed. It was a blast. We had a great father-son moment. I was an Army chaplain. As an Army chaplain, there's a lot of opportunity for good ministry with soldiers. It's a great job to have. It was a blessing to do that. So now I'm a debt collector, kind of going from being the good guy to the bad guy. I am so glad to be able to talk to tenants who leave owing money, to help them work through the moral dilemma and the situation they're in financially, to find a resolution to their obligation so that they can do the right thing. This is ministry to these tenants to help them get out from underneath this debt, to do it in a way they can actually manage, and to do it in a way that builds their credit. We are here to help the tenant, the property manager, and the owner find resolution to a very difficult situation that has not been well managed in the NARPM world. There is a great solution in place, and we hope that you would at least engage with us to let us show you that.
I love that. I think that's why we align so much. One of my words that I focus on is care. It was my word when I had my PMC. It's still my word now, approaching everything with care and being a good steward of life. When we focus on the negative, then we live in the negative. Focus on the positive of, let me show you a different path. It's probably not as scary, but a lot of people have a weird relationship with money and debt. I love that you guys approach it that way.
There's shame in debt. It's embarrassing. It's frustrating. It is depressing. But when someone shows you a way out of it, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much. That was a great way to end. And thank you, everybody who joined us live. I always appreciate you. I am launching a one-day event in Las Vegas. So if you're interested to hear more about that, it's called Built to Acquire, teaching you how to grow by hundreds of doors at one time versus door by door, acquiring property management companies, rent collection and everything. Feel free to scan the QR code. Thank you so much. And Robert, thank you for chiming in the chat. We will have the Godfather on, I promise. I hope to see you all in person at the next event.